मैं जो बोलूँगा यहाँ से वॉइस जाएगी। हेलो।
हेलो अक्षय भाई, आपको आवाज आ रही है हमारी?
सही। Hi Zubair.
Hi Atif, how are you, man? Assalamualaikum.
I am good. Walaikum assalam. कैसे हैं आप?
ठीक ठाक, आप कैसे हैं?
जबरदस्त, जबरदस्त. Your picture is being इसको मैं अगर हटा देता हूँ so that it remains as is, or you have an option to remove the background of yours, is it? So that you're,
Let's see here. Choose virtual background.
or you can you
No.
can set it background. Perfect.
Perfect.
Great.
What's happening, man?
The real estate is what is happening these days. आप बताएं, how are things there?
Alhamdulillah, man. Things are great. Let me just move this speaker. Can you say something now?
Hello.
Yeah, better. Much better. Okay.
Zabardast. So, well, the reason behind of us doing these webinars ये है कि हम ग्लोबल रियल एस्टेट कम्युनिटी को टैप करें और स्पेशली जो पाकिस्तानीज बाहर के मुल्कों में रियल एस्टेट में काम कर रहे हैं उनसे हम लोग कनेक्ट करके अपॉर्चुनिटीज को डिस्कस करके बोथ इन पाकिस्तान and the country that they're in, so that
Perfect.
people get to have the knowledge, the first hand knowledge from the people who are actually working in such industries.
Right.
So a quick background of what we do and why we do at Landtrack.pk is we're a platform that facilitates all the real estate stakeholders,
Okay.
either developer, real estate agents, architects, and legal services providers. जिनको
Okay.
हम टेक्नोलॉजी के उनके टेक्नोलॉजी के गैप को कम से कम करते हैं और एंड कंज्यूमर को डेटा की बुनियाद पे हम लोग डिसीजन मेकिंग में उसको फैसिलिटेट कर रहे होते हैं.
Okay.
सो दिस इज व्हाट वी डू एट landtrack.pk और हमने ये 2018 में इसकी जर्नी शुरू करी थी और कराची मार्केट में अभी हम लोग इवॉल्व कर रहे हैं सिंस कराची भी इतना यू नो इतना बड़ा है तो उसी में
Right.
जो है फैसिलिटेट कर रहे हैं. तो आप बताएं अपने बारे में एंड व्हाई यू डू व्हाट यू डू एट खनानी डेवलपमेंट्स.
So Kanani Developments is more of a boutique residential construction company. What we specialize in is low-rise residential construction. So what low-rise, by low-rise, what I mean is housing, not buildings, but not buildings or condominiums or apartments, but just straight up housing, low-rise construction. The way we started the company was we understood the trade first. So like any other business, you have to understand groundwork. So where we started off was we kickstarted our work from restorations. So आपका अगर bathroom renovate करना है हम bathroom renovate कर देंगे, आपका basement renovate करना है हम आपका basement बना देंगे, आपका kitchen renovate करना है हम आपका kitchen renovate कर देंगे. So when you start from that level, you basically see all kinds of problems. And as you are solving all those small little problems, now when I look back and I think about it that way, I'm like, dude, a lot of people just started off in construction by just buying a parcel of land and starting to build on it and then make 500 mistakes. What we did was we've already made 500 mistakes, and that too at a much smaller level. So being able to move past that and absorb those losses and transition into actual construction is something that I would recommend to everybody that's starting out new, and that does not have a mentor. Like I wish I had someone like myself explaining to someone, you know, कि यार आप शुरू कर रहे हो इस चीज का ध्यान रखना, इस चीज का ध्यान रखना, लेकिन ऐसा कोई करता है. So you have to do everything on your own, and I feel once you are once you have a good foundation set up of the work, transitioning into construction becomes fairly easier. So now we, alhamdulillah, are building roughly close to 40 homes a year. What we do is we buy parcels of land. If they are approved, we kickstart construction. If they're not approved by the city, we go through the approval stages with the municipalities or the local government. just to get the approvals in place. The moment we have that, we apply for building permits and get the work started. The way this business really works is before you start construction, you have to sell a few units. You sell those, get some homeowners on board, get their deposits in place, use those deposits towards construction, and eventually you're the last person to walk away with the money. So the hierarchy, the way it works is if you have a lender on board, the lender gets paid first. If you have trades on board, such as your workers, they get paid second. Then it's the homeowners. If anything screws up, if they needed a refund, you get them out of the way. And then जब सब कुछ होने के बाद जो बच जाता है, उससे आप enjoy करते हो.
जबरदस्त. तो अभी जो आप कंस्ट्रक्शन कर रहे हैं, that is mostly residentials or high rise verticals?
Mostly residential, low rise. So only housing. So we could be single family detached homes, townhomes, semi-detached homes, and so on.
Right. And how long does it take to build that?
Roughly anywhere from, if it's a standard built home कि आपने कोई tweaks नहीं किए में, आपका जो floor plan है वो वैसे रहेगा, आपके जो scope of work है वो change नहीं होगा, which rarely ever happens. But if everything stays as is, probably 4 to 5 months. But the moment you start tweaking things around, मुझे countertop quartz चाहिए, मुझे shower में tub की जगह standing shower चाहिए, small little things like these, when people start tweaking things around, pushes things out by another 2 months. So I'd say anywhere from 6 to 7 months you should be done.
नहीं. और Canada के अंदर what parts? In the main central or at the suburbs area?
Typically anywhere around the greater Toronto area. So we've specialized our work specifically in Ontario. So within Ontario, we have worked in Mississauga, we've worked in Oakville, we've worked in Whitby, Vaughan, Toronto, so just surrounding areas of Toronto.
Right. अच्छा, अभी क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ पाकिस्तान के अंदर जो एक रियल एस्टेट जिस तरह से होती रही है और हो भी रही है कि जब डेवलपमेंट हो रही होती है तो उससे पहले इट्स जस्ट द मॉडल, राइट? उसको जब बना देते हैं तो फिर उसके अंदर ट्वीकिंग्स हो रही होती हैं कि इसको सस्टेनेबल कैसे बनाना है, इसके अंदर ये गैप्स थे. तो सिंस वी नो दैट टेक्नोलॉजी की इन्वॉल्वमेंट आ रही है और BIM मॉडल्स जैसे बिजनेस इंफॉर्मेशन मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम्स आ रहे हैं कि आप कैसे उसको पहले डिजिटल ट्विन बना लेते हैं. तो सिंस कनाडा के अंदर जो डेवलपमेंट मेथड्स हो रहे होंगे, आई एम श्योर that would be far ahead than what we are actually practicing in Pakistan. तो वहाँ पे किस तरह से हो रही हैं, फिर यहाँ पे कैसे उसको enable किया जाए?
It's not vastly different. I think the biggest difference between Canadian real estate and Pakistani real estate is the level of leverage being used. I've noticed from the people within my network and people that I've spoken to in Pakistan, not a lot of people utilize the banks. And when it comes down to construction, it's either personal funding or they pool a group of investors and they all pool in all of their money and resources to do a project. We don't do work that way over here. अब अगर आपका $20 million का या $40 million का कोई project चल रहा है, मैं $40 million तो नहीं डालता. Which is why banks become useful. You give them a certain percentage, and the rest of it, whatever you're left with, you take home. When it comes to technology, I don't think it's also vastly different. Yes, building materials could be different because you guys use a lot of concrete. यहाँ पे हम सिर्फ concrete की foundation बनाते हैं. उसके बाद the whole structure of the house is used with plywood or lumber. That's it. So it's all built around lumber. कुछ foundational walls जो होते हैं, जो structural walls होते हैं, उस पे हम steel और concrete foundation use करते हैं, लेकिन majority of the work is done through simply lumber. But that's also vastly because of the way climate works over here. हमारे यहाँ ठंड ज़्यादा होती है. आपके वहाँ ठंड इतनी होती नहीं है, तो आपको ना central heating की ज़रूरत होती है. और ऐसा वक्त आता है दिसंबर में कुछ हफ्तों का, जब मेरी दादी भी वहां होती तो वो ये बोल रही होती कि यार ठंड इतनी है, समझ नहीं आ रहा करें क्या। तो आपके पास सेंट्रल हीटिंग सिस्टम नहीं होता, आपकी सारी वॉल्स, फाउंडेशन वॉल्स ही कंक्रीट की हैं, तो जब सर्दी आती है तो ऐसी आती है कि आपको घर में भी सर्दी लग रही होती है। वो एक टेम्परेचर कंट्रोल्ड awareness की वजह से the way we build things is a little bit different. When it comes to technology, I don't think that's also vastly different. Building a 3D model can be also done on AutoCAD. At the end of the day, I feel like AutoCAD is something that's universally used. And renderings, आजकल तो renderings बनाने वाले हर एक बंदे के पास एक platform आ गया है to just build एक structure दिया आपने, उसको एक footprint दे दिया आपने, बोला यार इसके ऊपर colors डालो, ताकि someone that has no background of real estate can be easily able to visualize what it is that they're buying, how it's going to look eventually. फिर उसमें colors डाल के, गाड़ियां डाल के, बाइकें डाल के, उसको एक ऐसा real life scenario बना के आप उसको utilize करते हो as a marketing to be able to sell homes.
That's right.
So technology specifically is being used when it comes to selling. One of the other things that I have noticed is people are buying homes online. I mean, I've sold homes online where I've made a platform through a website, and there are companies out there that are just using online tools of creating a site plan, select your unit. Each unit, it has its own price point. Each unit has its own deposit structure. All you got to do is do DocuSign or eSign online, and you're a homeowner. And within that software is also ID verification. You hold your piece of ID front and back, and before you know it, within the next 10-15 minutes, you're a homeowner. I had never envisioned that specifically, where people would be buying $1 million product online. It's like buying shoes, and people are still okay with it, and people have bought it from me just that way.
Well, yes, I believe things are transforming when it comes to technology, and people are actually like, pivoting towards the buying process, when we look at it's the high ticket price mostly. So when it comes to tokenization and blockchain, how is that incorporating in Canadian real estate market?
So it has and it hasn't as well. Some real estate agents have been very, very friendly towards that approach, and some brokerages have been very friendly in being able to cater to those kinds of clients. A lot of times they are usually fairly young, anywhere from their 20s to their 40s, because of their awareness of blockchain. And what they tend to do is they transfer tokens from their wallet to the brokerage's wallet. That's one approach that they've utilized in order to purchase homes. Now, there's certain issues around that I feel like is going to be troublesome, and which is why I stay away from it, is because of the volatility. I may be worth X today, but I may be worth either X plus or X minus tomorrow. And maybe even by the hour. So when I know that my net worth or my valuation is going to be so volatile that it changes every hour, it becomes a little more unpredictable. Some blockchain experts will argue that. They'll be like, no, I know what I'm doing. So I sell at the right time and I buy at the right time. But to me, that's more of a full-time job. When you have to do that level of investing, how do you focus on what you do for a living? So quite honestly, it's only people that are doing this full-time can actually manage to achieve, a net worth that just goes X plus and beyond every hour. I don't see that being sustainable specifically, which is why I stay away from that. But there are people that are very friendly towards that because they understand it better. I would say I'm a little ignorant when it comes to that stuff. I just feel like when things move that quick, it's one of those get-rich schemes, and I stay away from get-rich schemes, which is why real estate, in my opinion, is more of a healthier option. So if you are considering using your cryptocurrencies or Bitcoins or blockchains to transfer towards an asset class of real estate, that to me is a much more financially viable approach.
Right. So I believe that people have built platforms around the tokenization aspect. Even when we look at Pakistani market, there are a few companies who are working into this prop tech regime, and they are actually like
Right.
doing tokenization. So it's an evolving process, and few people are actually trying to be adjustable accordingly to it, and some
Right.
people are actually like, you know, looking around and trying to make their way. So when it comes to prop tech, what trends do you see in the coming years, 2023, 2024?
So initially, if you had asked me about a year and a half ago, I would have said there would be contactless sales where I would never have to meet someone in person, and they'll be comfortable with knowing that you're not meeting in person, and they'll buy. अगर मुझे पाकिस्तान में कोई बोले फोन पे के यार ये प्रॉपर्टी खरीदनी है, मैं कभी ना करूं, क्योंकि मैं देख के लूंगा, क्योंकि वहां पे जो प्रोटोकॉल सिस्टम है अराउंड कब्जाबाजी कि आप जब तक खरीद लेते हो और लैंड पे जाते हो तो पता चलता है वहां तो किसी और ने फेंस लगा के फैक्ट्री चला रहा है, तो वो यहाँ होना मुश्किल होता है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो प्रोटोकॉल सिस्टम है, जो इनका ब्यूरोक्रेटिक सिस्टम है, paperwork has to be legitimate for any transaction to happen. I mean, I'm not saying there's no bad apples here. There's also bad apples over here as well. But I would have said, you know, contactless sales would have been the way to go. But I've seen that also slowly fade away because people prefer interaction. People want to meet in person. People want, क्योंकि हर एक बंदे को मिल के बात करने में ज़्यादा comfort रहता है, especially when you're doing a transaction of that size. So when it comes to technology, I would say the biggest hurdle that we do see currently is the banking system. आप आज कोई भी घर लेने जाते हो, आपका खाली एक चेक बनवाना, ड्राफ्ट बनवाना, आप बैंक जाते हो, आपको एक $50,000 का ड्राफ्ट बनवाना है, वो ड्राफ्ट बनवाने में आपको 15 मिनट लग जाते हैं. I find that the most inconvenient thing in the world, where I have to go out of my way, go to a bank. That's 20 minutes of my time. Then I have to stand inside the bank for 15 minutes to get my draft. I just wasted half an hour for nothing. To do what? Just to get my money and use my money, which I haven't even used yet. So I feel like that is where cryptos and blockchain could potentially add value into your softwares or into your platforms of currency exchange, where if I have to transfer money for a particular transaction and I can do so with the click of a button, knowing that my money is not that volatile, I feel like that would be the way to go. And I have looked into that, where people have wallets that are not specifically designed towards purchasing cryptocurrencies, but just having a hold of cash. And people can transfer to a brokerage that also has the same. I feel like that is where tech could become a little more useful. And then simply around being able to have platforms such as purchasing online. So that's one of the things that I've seen people do. कि ID verification आपकी online हो जाए. That is a big asset. Where अगर आप आते हो as आतिफ कि मुझे घर खरीदना है, I don't know how legitimate you are. आपके पास ID है, ठीक है, ID fake ID तो हर जगह बन सकती है. But वो ID को verify करवा के एक software में डाल के आपको पता चल जाए at the click of a button that if this person is legitimate, does he have a criminal background, does he have a criminal history? That is also a big asset when it comes to prop tech. Other than that, I feel like there's a lot of tech that's already in place, such as the renderings, being able to showcase a product through a 3D walk tour. I've seen people do things like having a warehouse where they have staged a model through lighting, where they show a bedroom is this size and you're just walking around the whole warehouse knowing that this is your house. I think these are some very cool initiatives that are taking place within the space.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. How about your feedback on data-driven decision making? how does that can facilitate both a developer as well as a end consumer or an investor per se?
So data to me is always based on the past. It's used for historical trends.
Yeah.
Now, it is not the ultimate support or evidence for your decision for the future. It should never be. Because things transition, things change. There's a lot of things that data do not reflect, which is your gut feeling and your connections within cities, municipalities, knowing what's going to happen here and knowing what's going to go around here. Because say, for example, I've heard horror stories of investors thinking कि land ले लो और बस इसको लेके रख दो. I agree, land ले लो, लेके रख दो, कोई बात नहीं, आपके पास $2 million पड़े हुए, आपने land ले लिया. लेकिन बगैर देखे land ना लो. उस land के बारे में समझो. Is it even developable? उस land के नीचे क्या है? Is it even developable? Is there a water line going under your land that you cannot develop at all down the road? Is your land part of the conservatory where there's some, animals that are, existing within those parcels of land that they don't want to get rid of? There's so many things you really have to consider and confirm before you make those transactions or decisions. फिर उसके बाद अगर आप बोलते हाँ मैंने एक अच्छा land लेके उसको रखा है, that makes, good sense. So when it comes to data can be helpful in knowing what trends are within that area, how the recent sales have been, how quickly things have been selling, how late have things been selling. That to me is very useful as a comparable. It kind of gives you a ballpark of where it is you think that you'd be able to sell your own product or what you think is a fair price for your product. Other than that, markets are, especially in Canada, the Canadian market changes way too significantly, just because of immigration policies, because of lack of demand, lack of supply, and I feel like those have bigger impacts on your feasibilities. So data, yes, it's great, but it should not be the only thing you need to use. I specifically do base my decisions around data, just to understand where my ballpark needs to lie. And then my decision making is always forward thinking. So as it should be for any other builder or developer or investor out there. It should always be forward thinking. Do not assume that पिछले साल अगर 3% की appreciation हुई है तो इस साल भी 3%. It's like saying कि पिछले साल इस दिन पे टेस्ला का स्टॉक ऊपर गया था तो आज भी जाएगा. ये trend जो है repeat नहीं करता. Trend is just, it should be used in the backbone of your analogy. That's it.
Definitely. Since Pakistan की जो अभी real estate market है, it's quite unorganized. And what value addition we are bringing for developers here is कि जैसे tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities होती हैं, और अगर हम कराची की मिसाल लें कि outskirts of कराची के अंदर अब developments हो रही हैं, expansion हो रही है. Within कराची चीज़ें जो हैं काफ़ी expensive भी हो गई हैं, cost of land, and और कोई ऐसी है भी नहीं available जहाँ पे construction की जाए. And एक चीज़ जो हम हमेशा से देखते हैं कि we have a housing deficit. और housing का जो deficit है वो affordable living के अंदर बड़ा एक lie करता है कि भाई supply side अगर है भी तो वो affordable कितनी है. तो अभी हम डेवलपर्स को यहाँ पर इस तरह से फैसिलिटेट कर रहे हैं कि जिस इलाके के अंदर दे आर लुकिंग टू कंस्ट्रक्ट सम हाई राइज और सम काइंड ऑफ अ सोसाइटी, तो उस एरिया के अंदर की फीजिबिलिटी क्या है, इन्फोग्राफिक्स क्या है और डेमोग्राफिक क्या है, कि उधर जो लोग रह रहे हैं उनकी प्रेफरेंस क्या है, आइदर इट्स अ 2 bed, इट्स अ 3 bed और अ 4 bed, और what percentage of their income they will be more comfortable to give you as an installment purposes. So we give them as a like a pre-hand feasibilities for a developer to actually see कि हाँ यार, this is what I believe would be the best shot if I am constructing some kind of a project over there. On the other hand, हम उनको लेबर के ऊपर भी उनको फैसिलिटेट करेंगे, भाई इस इलाके के अंदर इतना डिस्टेंस के ऊपर ये चीज़ें अवेलेबल है. फिर उसमें आपकी जितनी भी जो सप्लाई साइड के अंदर जो मिल आपको जाहिर है रॉ मटेरियल चाहिए, कहाँ से आएगा, रॉ मटेरियल की कॉस्ट कैसे इतनी तक हो जाएगी और इतनी इजीली एक्सेसिबल आप कर सकेंगे. सो वी आर
Right.
डेवलपिंग डैशबोर्ड्स फॉर देम. एंड
Okay.
सिमिलरली ऑन द अदर हैंड, जो एंड कंज्यूमर है या इन्वेस्टर है, उस इलाके के मास्टर प्लान को रखते हुए कि उधर की फ्यूचर अप्रोच क्या है, या तो और कनेक्टिविटी कैसी है उधर की, पार्क्स कितने फासले पर हैं, स्कूल्स कितने फासले पर हैं, ये जो बेसिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है वो किस तरह से डेवलप हो रहा है. सो दीज काइंड ऑफ
Right.
लाइक ability to both the stakeholders, you know. So this is the
Right.
valuation जो कि we believe, and this is what we have studied, you know, different countries, different models, और उसी को हम यहाँ पर पाकिस्तानी ऑडियंस के अंदर ट्रांसलेट करने की इसको कोशिश कर रहे हैं to bring transparency.
So we do have such platforms in Canada already in place. जैसे अब अगर मुझे किसी एरिया के ऊपर information निकालनी है, I can do that with the click of a button, either at Geo Warehouse or there's other platforms that are out there. Do I use it? 100%. And it is very, very useful, especially around incomes, general population, demographics, कितने बच्चे हैं उसमें से ज़्यादा 30 years of age वाले कितने हैं और super वाले कितने हैं. They're your buyers. A 20-year-old kid is not going to buy a one. I mean, I wish they would. They're not your market, especially in Canada or Karachi, where property prices are that significantly high. And as a builder, I think it is also useful knowing where to get your raw materials and labor from. But there's a catch. I usually prefer, as a builder, I prefer working with the same people that I have worked with in the past. Now, if you're a new builder, how would you have a team built? So I feel like for new builders or new investors, that is an excellent tool to, number one, assess their feasibility. Agar raw materials lunga to main kya kya lunga aur kitne ka aayega, because you will have, as a new builder, you would have no experience. But your platform will give them that valuable information, knowing what it costs to build a particular home in this particular area and what it is that you can walk away with comfortably, in terms of yahan ki demand. Ab agar aap Gulshan mein ghar loge versus aap Defense ke phase 8 mein ghar loge, prices vastly different hogi. So your land price needs to reflect that as well. अब अगर मैं 1000 गज का घर बनाना चाह रहा हूँ और मैंने लैंड ले लिया गुलशन में, तो मैं एग्जैक्ट सेम प्राइस का लैंड डिफेंस फेज 6 में नहीं ले पाऊंगा. वो लैंड की प्राइस सिग्निफिकेंटली इन्फ्लेटेड होगी बिकॉज उसकी एंड वैल्यू रिफ्लेक्ट कर रही है. So all of these things is just a general understanding that you as a new builder need to have and see what room you have left with. अब अगर आप मुझे बोलते हो कि भाई जब प्रोडक्ट बन जाएगा फेज 6 में, मैं उसे 10 करोड़ का बेचूंगा फॉर एग्जांपल, और अगर मैं लैंड और मुझे इट कॉस्ट मी टू बिल्ड से 3 करोड़ फॉर अ नाइस लुकिंग होम टू बी एबल टू अचीव अ 10 करोड़ मार्क, तो आई नो राइट ऑफ द बैट कि भाई मेरे पास 3 करोड़ का मैंने खर्चा कर दिया है और मुझे पता है कि मुझे मार्जिन चाहिए अपना 30% और मेरा 3 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट हो गया, तो मेरे पास रूम ही कोई 4 करोड़ का है to buy the land. मसला यहाँ पे वही आता है, the disconnect between the person who's selling the land and the person who's buying the land. वो बोलेगा मैं 4 का नहीं बेचूंगा, मैं तुझे क्यों 3 बनाने दूं, तो मैं तुम्हें 6 का बेचूंगा, अब तुम्हें जितने बना सकते हो बनाओ. So that disconnect is where the problem arises when it comes to any kind of transaction in land deals.
yes. ऐसे ही हो रहा है, और उस पे वो बबल जब क्रिएट होता है तो उसके अंदर एक साइकिल चलना शुरू हो जाता है, बट व्हेन दैट बबल इज नॉट एक्चुअली ट्राइंग टू मैच, तो वो चीजें सारी रुक जाती हैं उसके अकॉर्डिंग.
Correct. I mean, I had a very funny meeting the other day where someone was trying to sell me a parcel of land to build 4 homes, for example. And their rationale was कि यार ये जब चारों घर बिक जाएंगे ना, तो आपकी एंड वैल्यू होगी 2 मिलियन इस एरिया में. मैंने बोला अच्छा, what makes you say that? तो बोलता है कि comps ये दिखा रहे हैं, comps वो दिखा रहे हैं, the comparable properties that have sold, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, एक काम करते हैं, आप मुझे ये लैंड दे दो 1.9 के, मैं आपको डिस्काउंट दे रहा हूँ लाख का, 1.9 के चारों मुझसे ले लो आज, डिपॉजिट दे दो और मैं लैंड आपसे ले लेता हूँ। वो हिचकिचाना शुरू हो जाते हैं फौरन। तो मैंने बोला that is where the disconnect is. If you are so confident that these are $2 million properties, I'm giving you $100,000 off because I know you cannot sell it for more than 1.6. There's a big disconnect here. So to set expectations straight, he came back into the ground where he's like, okay, I guess I wouldn't buy it for 1.9. Well, if you're not buying for 1.9, who the hell would buy it from me for $2 million? So that's one way to bring them back to reality when they have such weird expectations on end values. Just put them on the spot. Be like, okay, fine, I'll give you $100,000 off. Buy it from me today. Give me a 10% deposit, no problem. I'll start building and I'll give you all 4 ready-made homes. You can do whatever you want with them. And the moment you say that, they start realizing, okay, I'm not one of those people that are just gonna get hyped, get taken away with this market कि भाई अब अगर सब खरीद रहे हैं तो मैं भी खरीदने के लिए घुस जाता हूँ, बस 2 मिलियन दो में मैं आपकी बात मान लेता हूँ, मैं क्यों मानूं आपकी बात, मैं पागल तो नहीं बैठा हूँ यहाँ पे, काम कर रहा हूँ रोज का, यही है मेरा, this is my bread and butter, I know what I'm doing. So I have different ways of setting people to their place eventually.
नहीं, और बहुत जरूरी है ये.
I feel like zaruri hai when sellers are a little more unreasonable and unrealistic with their numbers. आपको कोई बिल्डिंग बेचने आ रहा, आप बोलो, उसको लग रहा है ना कि अगर 10 करोड़ का आप बेच सकते हो हर यूनिट, आप बोलो आप 9.5 का मुझसे ले लो यार, आज ही ले लो, सारे ले लो मुझसे 9.5 में, आपको लगता है 10 का मिल सकता है तो वहां पे वो चुप हो जाते हैं फर्क.
हाँ. So any plans of developments in Pakistan?
At the moment, no. I feel like obviously मैंने एक चीज realize की है कि when it comes to any kind of startup business, the moment you become good at something you do, focus on that and try to cream out as much as you can before you start shoving your nose in other people's businesses. And that's what I implemented in my line of work as well. कि अगर मुझे sales नहीं आती तो मैं एक फालतू realtor, ये फालतू part-time real estate agent को नहीं ढूंढूंगा, मैं उसको ढूंढूंगा who's the best at what they do. Because I feel like when you're building a team, you should always go after the best person possible, because you might be trying to save a few pennies here and there, but it's a big piece of pizza. Pizza के slices बने हुए हैं, सबको खाने दो, पूरा खाओगे तो पेट में दर्द होगी. So at the end of the day, let everybody eat, let everybody make a living. आप 2 पिज्जा स्लाइस की जगह 3 खा लोगे, 4 खा लोगे, उसके बाद पेट में दर्द होना है, तो क्यों खा रहे हो, क्यों किसी का हक मार रहे हो? तो in a real estate transaction, the beauty of that is you have to partner with people, you have to have contractors in place. आप खुद खड़े होके हैंडीमैन का काम नहीं करोगे, आप हैंडीमैन को लेके आओगे ताकि आपको बाद में दोबारा ना आना पड़े. You fix it once, you fix it right. Do not try to cheap out and try to fix it all over again for the second or third or fourth time, because you might realize, oh, I just saved $500 because I went with someone else. Chances are you're going to have to spend another $5,000 down the road because he just did it wrong. So it's best to do it right the first time. And make it sustainable. Exactly. Which is why I feel like, Pakistan, it is obviously in the back of my mind, but there's a lot more to do here for me at the moment, for me to consider that. And obviously the benefit that I have right now is I'm young. Our team is very young. It's myself, my brother, my father. And when you have young people around you, we're always hungry for work. And the more you work, the better it gets and the easier it gets. So I feel like, people think it's all luck, lucky ho gaya, koi lucky nahi hota. Sab kaam kar rahe hain. It's all hard work. People think, यार तुमने एक डील कर ली, वो अच्छा छक्का लग गया तुम्हारा, ये वो इसलिए तुम आगे बढ़ गए. ऐसा नहीं होता. वो छक्का मारने के लिए भी जो 100 पापड़ जो हमने बेले हैं वो किसी को दिखते नहीं है. But everybody sees the good side of success of any kind of business. They don't understand the struggle that you've been through to be able to achieve that. And you value it more as well. Like right now, I value this a lot more. अगर मुझे रातों रात मिल गया होता तो मैं ऐसे time waste करना होता हर जगह पे. But you value it a lot more. You take it to the next level, knowing that this is gonna succeed, and you become more motivated.
Definitely. So, what does the Pakistani community has to say over there? Are they like looking to invest in Pakistan, or they're like, do they invest in Pakistan?
Some of them do. Some of them have investments all over the place in Pakistan, and some of them are looking for investment vehicles here because they have some excess cash lying around that they don't need for any more investments in Pakistan. And they say, okay, let's take it overseas. Let's have somewhat of a platform where my investment, the moment मेरा investment रंग लाए, तो मेरी currency depreciation की वजह से मेरी investment भी धुल ना जाए. उनकी ये लॉजिक होती है. वो बोलते हैं कि यार मेरे पास 1 करोड़ रुपए है. अब 1 करोड़ रुपए की मैं इन्वेस्टमेंट कराची में करता हूँ. अब मैंने 2 साल पहले इन्वेस्टमेंट की, मैंने उस 1 करोड़ रुपए 25 लाख कमा लिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, से थिंग्स वेंट रियली वेल, 25 लाख कमा लिए. आज आपका वो 1 करोड़ अगर आप यूएस, कनाडा या यूके लेके जाते हो, तो आपको जो मिल रहा था 2 साल पहले, अगर आप खाली वही कर लेते तो आप 25 लाख से ज्यादा कमा लेते. And I feel like that level of instability in the economic realm for your currency is not healthy for any investor or businessman. वो stabilize होना बहुत जरूरी है ताकि पाकिस्तान की investment flourish करे. आज मैं जिससे बात करता हूँ पाकिस्तान में यही बोलता है, यार मेरे पास पैसे पड़े, बस मुझे डॉलर में कन्वर्ट कर, और मैं डॉलर लेके रख रहा हूँ. और मैं उनसे पूछता हूँ डॉलर का क्या करोगे, वो बस लेके रख दूंगा. ये जो लॉजिक है ना, it's the same thing to me when it comes to आपकी इंटरेस्ट. जो लोग इंटरेस्ट के पीछे इंटरेस्ट से भाग रहे होते हैं, मैं बोलता हूँ इंटरेस्ट का मतलब क्या है? रिस्क फ्री आपको पैसे मिल रहे हैं. ठीक है, करेंसी में आपका रिस्क है, मैं समझ रहा हूँ, नीचे भी जा सकती है, बट what are the chances for that right now? तो वो लोग बस साइड पे रख देते हैं, बस ये पड़े पड़े पैसे वो खुद ही ग्रो होते रहेंगे. जब बोलते हैं यार पैसे हैं, पैसों को काम पे लगाओ, पैसों को रनिंग में लेके आओ, उसको साइड पे रख के कोई ना तुम्हें फायदा हो रहा है, चलो ठीक है तुम्हें थोड़ा फायदा हो जाएगा, तुमने थोड़े पैसे कमा लिए, लेकिन जो कंट्री की बैंड बज रही है ना, वो एक अलग चीज ही है. बिकॉज आपकी इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी स्लो डाउन हो गई है. People are just holding on to piles of cash in dollars and they're not doing anything with it. So that's the biggest problem that I've seen a lot of the investors of Pakistan say to me, where they're like, yeah, find me a deal, find me a home that I can just put my money aside in, but it has to be in Canada. And it's very common nowadays, especially nowadays in the last 4 to 6 months, because of the instability, political, economic, political platform जो बन चुका है पाकिस्तान को, जो मजाक बनाया हुआ है, और जो economic platform का जो वैसे ही मजाक बन चुका है पूरे worldwide. I feel like that needs to have some level of stability in place for people to even think about investing in Pakistan. And everybody has realized कि यार अगर आप खुद अपना ध्यान नहीं रखोगे ना, तो कोई आके देगा नहीं आपको. So everybody has to have some level of selfishness within them to be able to look out for their own kids, families, and so on, for their own lifestyle. And it's become a little more common now. So people, all they say is कि यार करेंसी के दिल ने, मैं अपनी पेट को भरना चाह रहा हूँ, तो मैं उसी को देखूंगा. And I agree with that. I'm also a little more of I have a little more of a capitalist mindset as well. Yeah, you have to look out for yourself. It's not a social welfare. एक democratic country में आप social welfare की तरीके से तो चल भी नहीं सकते. So you have to work out for yourself. You have to look out for yourself. And वो तभी होगा जब currency और economy को थोड़ा सा stabilize होना पड़ेगा for people to be like, yes, I want it. Like even for myself, मैं पाकिस्तान में भी invest ना. Firstly, because I have a vehicle established here to build me money, and knowing that I can control the outcome, knowing that I can see the outcome, knowing that I can have some level of observation on my outcome, which means I have eyes here. I don't have eyes in Pakistan, so I would not want to invest in Pakistan. So I feel like anywhere you do invest, make sure you either have a relative, a family member that's there to just make sure that they become your eyes and ears. For any kind of investment opportunity, you need that.
डेफिनेटली तो एक चीज हमने एक और शुरू करी है, दैट इज प्रॉपटेक एकेडमी।
Okay.
एंड उसके अंदर हम ये बड़ा सुनते हैं कि यार वी हैव 60% ऑफ पाकिस्तान पॉपुलेशन इज यूथ एंड द एवरेज एज मीडियम इज 23 years old। तो हम उसको रियल एस्टेट की तरफ जो एडवांसमेंट्स हुई हैं टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ, उसको रखते हुए हम उसको ट्रेनिंग्स दे रहे हैं।
Okay.
फर्स्ट, डूज एंड डोंट्स इन रियल एस्टेट, बिजनेस एथिक्स, क्योंकि ये बड़ी यहाँ पे मिसिंग चीज है कि भाई रियल एस्टेट में काम करना तो है लेकिन कैसे करना है, और बिल्कुल एक वैल्यू एडिशन के साथ, और किसी सामने वाले को कोई गलत चीज आइडेंटिफाई करके उसको कम से कम कैसे करना है।
Agreed.
So this is the core that we are trying to like enable, and जिसमें हम लोग यूनिवर्सिटीज को टारगेट कर रहे हैं जो ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स हैं जो कि कुछ ना कुछ करने की उसमें हैं एज ग्रुप के अंदर, उनको हम
Okay.
लोग ये एक डायरेक्शन और अप्रोच दे रहे हैं इस एकेडमी के थ्रू। सो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वी ट्रेनिंग, वी आर डूइंग आवर पार्ट कि भाई इस यूथ को कैसे जो है हम लोग एक इनेबलमेंट दें, और स्पेशली इस इंडस्ट्री के अंदर कि जिसमें sky is the limit, since आप
Agreed.
की एक डेवलपर हैं, कि हाउ थिंग्स फ्लो इन दिस मार्केट, एंड पाकिस्तान के अंदर जो एक हम एक मुश्किल हालात से गुजर रहे हैं, आई बिलीव दिस will give like a long edge in the coming years.
No, I agree. I think any kind of learning, especially for students, you've never learned enough. I'm constantly learning, and I'm not in university. So if university children think कि यार बस हो गई अब पढ़ाई कभी करनी ही नहीं पड़ेगी, ऐसा होता नहीं है। आपको पूरी जिंदगी पढ़ना ही है। आप नहीं पढ़ोगे तो आप पीछे रह जाओगे। So I feel like you always need to stay aware. You always need to know what's happening around you. You always need to continue reading, especially in real estate, and especially in any kind of business that you're going to be running. क्योंकि मैं लोगों को यही समझाता हूँ कि दो तरीके हैं, या तो आप दुकान चला रहे हो या आप बिजनेस चला रहे हो। दुकान चलानी है तो कोई बात नहीं, रोज सुबह जाओ, 7 बजे 8 बजे दुकान खोलो और 5 बजे बंद करके आ जाओ, ठीक है, ये आपकी दुकान होगी, कोई बात नहीं, चलती रहेगी, जितनी चल रही है, कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ रही है, ऑटो पायलट पे चल रही है। उसमें कोई ग्रोथ माइंडसेट नहीं है, उसमें आपकी अप्रोच बिल्कुल ही अलग है। बिजनेस चलाने में एक अलग ही माइंडसेट चाहिए। यू हैव टू बी कॉन्स्टेंटली हंग्री टू लर्न, यू हैव टू बी कॉन्स्टेंटली हंग्री टू ग्रो। तो दुकान को बिजनेस बनाने में आपका हाथ आ जाता है थ्रू एक्सपेंशन, मल्टीपल लोकेशंस, फ्रैंचाइजिंग एंड सो ऑन, इंटरनेशनल एक्सपोजर थ्रू exhibitions and so on. There's so many things you could do to make it a business. तो कुछ लोग होते हैं जो दुकान में खुश हैं, no doubt about it, that's good. If you're satisfied with what you have, that's amazing. Not everybody needs to be crazy in their head to constantly grow. Some people are restricted around their ability to have human capital. मेरा तो बेटा नहीं है, मेरा तो कोई है नहीं, तो मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, मैं किस लिए कर रहा हूँ ये सब, बस मेरे बिल्स पे हो रहे हैं, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा। Great, good for you, you're happy. But I am not that way, and I know a lot of people aren't. So there needs to be a shift in mindset कि बस पढ़ाई जो है, पढ़ाई का मतलब है कि आप बिजनेस नहीं कर सकते। That's the most stupidest logic I've ever heard in my life. कि आपने बस पढ़ाई की है और आप A स्टूडेंट हो तो आप सिर्फ C स्टूडेंट के लिए काम करो। ये वही बोलता है C स्टूडेंट जिसको पता है इसने कुछ किया नहीं अभी तक, तो वो अपने आप को दिलासा दे रहा होता है बार बार कि देखो मैं C स्टूडेंट हूँ तो मैं कुछ बड़ा करूंगा, तो ये माइंडसेट अपने दिमाग से निकाल लेना है लोगों को, काफी स्टूडेंट्स को, बिकॉज उनको लगता है सोशल मीडिया पे इन्होंने देख लिया कि A स्टूडेंट्स विल वर्क फॉर C स्टूडेंट्स, तो ये बस लॉजिक हमेशा जिंदगी भर रहेगा। तो जो C स्टूडेंट है उसको थोड़ा पागल भी होना पड़ेगा टू नो कि बिजनेस चलाने में व्हाट इट टेक्स। हर C स्टूडेंट ऐसा पागल नहीं होता, वो स्टूडेंट असल का पागल होता है। तो there's a big difference that people need to understand. And I feel like it'll come with time when people realize that as well. Like I feel like मैंने education Alhamdulillah, I've completed my bachelor's, I've completed my master's. मैंने CA किया हुआ है, मैंने CBV किया हुआ है. At one point, I was dealing with hundreds of realtors a day, and I felt like I could add more value than 80% of the realtors out there. I got my license for a realtor as well because I was like, well, I could get access to all the databases in the world. Why do I need to wait for someone to give me that information? I took that as well. I am constantly learning. So for someone to say कि मैंने university कर लिया तो बस अब better और कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है, you're not going to be growing. You're going to be staying in one place. And if you're happy with that, amazing. Congrats to you. Kudos to you. But I don't think that is the right approach for any entrepreneur out there. आजकल तो entrepreneur का भी word जो है वो ऐसा misuse हो रहा है कि जो crypto का काम भी कर रहा है घर बैठे बैठे वो भी entrepreneur है, जो currency का काम कर रहा है वो भी entrepreneur है, जो एक पान की दुकान चला रहा है वो भी entrepreneur है. मतलब they've just misused that word in so many ways that I'm just like, यार ये तो word ही मुझे नहीं पसंद आता, you know, at the end of the day.
ये तो है. I mean, that is the cause of how things are going. Mindset का game है खाली.
Exactly, and I feel like
और
people need to change that 100%.
100%. अगर कुछ करना है तो भाई mindset के ऊपर पहले काम करना है आपने.
Agreed.
ये तो है. So it's 10 a.m. Monday morning over there. Yes.
Yes, sir. I have been getting constant emails and stuff, so I might have to cut it short as well.
इसको बस हम let's sum it up. And any message, क्योंकि we are going live and this will be keep on going on the social media. So anything that you want to go about, and then we can
I would always say to any real estate developers, builders, realtors out there is to always focus on the macro. Do not get caught up on the micro. And I feel like half of them will understand what I'm trying to tell them. Do not feel disheartened by a no. I hear no's for a living. People reject any kinds of investment opportunities, any kind of sales opportunities on a daily basis, but it's a numbers game. 500 लोगों को फोन में लाओगे, 400 ना करेंगे, 50 बोलेंगे सोच के बताता हूँ, 40 बोलेंगे बीवी से पूछ के बताता हूँ, 10 होंगे जो बोलेंगे चलो मिलते हैं. So it is just a numbers game. The harder you work, the more you dial, the more you are persistent, you will succeed. And do not be disheartened by the 400 no's, because those no's are just preparing you for the right people down the road, and you will value them differently. And I would also tell them कि वो जो 400 लोग जिन्होंने मना भी किया हुआ है वो भी वापस आएंगे. Do not treat a no as a negative thing. No's can become yeses in no time. You'd be surprised at how many instances I've had where people have said no to me and have walked up back to me 12 months, 16 months, 24 months later. So, focus on building relationships, and I'm telling you, they will come back.
That's beautifully summed up. Life of a realtor and a developer. कि भाई, you have to keep going. No's are a part of it. You have to tap the maximum number of people, and definitely there will be people who are actually trying to listen and get your services out there.
Agreed.
So thank you, Zubair, for your time. And since this is a virtual webinar and इसी को हम community को build कर रहे हैं अपनी, so last Saturday we had people from UK and USA and Riyadh. So we'll all be having like a collective session in the coming days as well. और इसको हम लोग एक like a series of webinars के तौर पर इसको कर रहे हैं.
Chalo, that's good, man. I feel like people need this.
More learning from everybody in different parts of the world, doing the same real estate, facilitating people, and it's a noble cause at the end of the day.
No, agreed. I think any kind of platform like this where you can shed knowledge and light on the issues and approaches that are working for us. I wish I had this back then and I would listen to them. I mean, I'm sure there were there, but I was just not, as aware. And it comes over time. I feel like anybody that's listening to this as well will realize that, you have to start somewhere. I'm not here overnight. It took me years. So focus on your education, focus on yourself, and trust me, just focus on yourself and you will eventually make it.
Noted and acknowledged.
All right, man.
All right.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me. And
Thank you.
we'll stay in touch.
Definitely looking forward.
Take care.
Have a good head.
Lots.
Okay.